Desumi walks home from school with some of her friends. They ask her to go to karaoke, but Desumi says she is busy and can't go. The other girls tell her she won't get a boyfriend that way, but Desumi blushes and laughs, which makes the other girls think she might have a crush on someone. They see red gelato with pink gelato, and the girls think they might be going out on a date because they look like a great match. This idea shocks Desumi, who runs away crying. Haru has invited Fudo because she wants to talk to him. However, she finds it embarrassing and isn't sure if she has the right to ask him if the picture she saw was of him and his girlfriend. Since Haru doesn't say anything, Fudo thinks he knows what she's going to ask. He pulls out some protein and says that she must have hit a wall with her strength training. He then tells her how to train to get a steel body. Haru tries to explain that it's about the picture, but Fudo tells her it's fine because there are pictures of the exercises in the training book, too. She feels assured that he doesn't have a girlfriend because he keeps telling her how to do exercises and what would be good for her. Then, an emergency calls them both. Gecko are going to attack again. Gelato 5 heads to turn them around. Fudo thinks that he will be able to talk to Desumi again when he sees her, but she kicks him instead. He ends up thinking that his timing was off, so he tells her how he plans to avoid her next attack, but she hits him again. Fudo wants to move, but Desumi won't let him. Instead, Desumi launches a new attack that Fudo has never seen before and blows him into a building. Desumi goes to where he is and keeps attacking him. Fudo asks her what's going on, and she says she saw them together. Fudo tells her that Haru just wanted to ask him about bodybuilding. Desumi says that she knows he won't cheat on her, but she was really jealous when she saw him with another girl. Desumi thinks that love has made her weaker and that maybe she isn't made for love, but Fudo hugs her and tells her that he will always love her. Desumi hasn't forgiven him for going on a date after school, but she will forgive him if he takes her on a date after school, which Fudo promises to do. Haru then appears, busting them, and tells Fudo that the fight is over. He then tells Fudo that the fight is over. Fudo then walks away with Haru, but since she doesn't say anything, he's not sure if she figured it out. He asks her how much she heard, but when he realizes that she heard almost everything, he feels like it's too late. The next day, on his way to the meeting, Fudo thinks that this is the end of his life. Then Haru shows up, and they go into the meeting. Fudo can't stop wondering why Haru hasn't talked to him in a week. He tells Desumi, and they wonder what she is planning. Fudo stops Desumi from silencing Haru for good because he wants to give Haru some time. Desumi then notices Haru and sends Fudo to buy her a drink. Desumi asks Haru why she hasn't said anything, but Haru says she knows who Desumi really is and wants to fight her. When they start fighting, Desumi wins. Then Haru tells them that she joined the team because she loves Fudo. She eventually figured out that he has a girlfriend, but she didn't think that she would be the enemy commander, let alone someone she knew. Haru says that Desumi once saved her from a group of thieves and told her to get strong. Haru thought she might be able to beat Desumi and take Fudo because she said love had made her weaker, but Desumi is as strong as ever. Desumi says that Haru could easily ruin their relationship, but Haru saw Fudo smile in a way she had never seen him smile before, so she couldn't take away their happiness. Then Desumi gives her a hug, and they both start to cry. Fudo comes back and says he's sorry he couldn't find the drink Desumi requested. He discovers Haru dozing in Desumi's lap and worries that she has permanently silenced her. They take a stroll with Haru later on, and she reveals that she is cheering for them the whole way. Haru warns Desumi that she will steal Fudo if she ever has the chance, and she advises the two to get along. At Gecko meeting, Supreme Leader Bossler presents the Princess Series monthly reports, evaluating them on combat outcomes, negative energy accumulation, drive, enthusiasm, etc. Bossler reveals that Bear's team with Reaper Princess is first again by a landslide. He states that Reaper Princess is a role model for evil and beating Gelato Red almost to death earned her big points. Beast Princess, Kiki, gets angry for Desumi beating her each time. Desumi tells her to calm down and offers her Bossler Doll award, but Kiki smashes it to the ground, not wanting it, and leaves. At the cafeteria, Kiki is still angry, promising to beat Desumi next time. Steel Princess, Kyoko, isn't sure that will happen, but Kiki tells her to shut up as she was in last place. Desumi overhears them, realizing that Kiki has some sort of grudge against her and hates losing, while Kyoko exists in her own little world and is uncompetitive. Kyoko tells Kiki that she had fallen in love, but Kiki isn't interested. However, Desumi quickly jumps in, wanting to learn more. Kyoko reveals that the person she loves is wild, but understanding. However, it's a co-worker. Kiki states then it's off limits and she needs to forget about it, but Desumi totally understands her and wants to support her. Kyoko wants to confess to the person, but fears that she doesn't have good qualities and the person won't return her feelings. Desumi decides to help her and develop her femininity. Desumi calls Kyoko and Kiki and asks them to do pilates, but Kyoko struggles with it. Next, she wants to see her cooking skills, but gets shocked as the food she prepared looked like deadly poison. They proceed to do other exercises, but Kyoko fails in all of them and decides to give up as this proved she is worthless. Later, Culver and Bear's team face Gelato 5 and Desumi tells Fudo about Kyoko's situation and ended up hurting her while trying to help her. She asks Fudo what he expects out of his loved one, but Fudo states nothing, and just having Desumi by his side is enough, as he likes her the way she is. Desumi feels embarrassed, but also lucky to have him. Desumi and Kiki visit Kyoko in her room and see she had closed herself in her iron labyrinth. Kiki explains that when she gets like this, she refuses to move and is dangerous to approach her. Desumi breaks one of the iron spikes, which activates the counterattack of Kyoko's shell system, which shoots more iron spikes. Desumi states she was wrong and Kyoko didn't need to change as she is fine the way she is. With Kiki's assist, Desumi reaches Kyoko, who then thanks them and states they had given her the courage. Kyoko then removes her shell, revealing to have a large bust, which makes Kiki jealous and angry, and hoping that the person will blow Kyoko off. Kyoko then goes and confesses to Culver and Bear, who returns her feelings. Culver and Bear buys some food for Catapult Snake and asks for a favor to borrow Steel Princess. Snake agrees, but wonders if Bear would be okay as Steel is quite stupid, but that angers Bear, who starts yelling at Snake. Bear's team along with Steel fight Gelato 5, who are surprised to see Steel there as she belongs to a different team. Having a harder time than usual, Hayato decides to go and call Fudo back from the building he entered to fight Reaper, but Haru stands in his way, saying that Fudo isn't in the building and if he wants to enter, he will have to fight her. Hayato then gives up and returns to fight Bear, and Haru follows him after Fudo and Desumi thank her. Desumi brings out a bento lunch she made. Happy, Fudo prepares to eat it, but Desumi stops him, saying she heard that couples are supposed to feed each other. Fudo had heard the same and they agree to do it. Desumi prepares to feed him some food, but moment before it reaches his mouth, Fudo feels sudden pain in his stomach. Barely standing, he wants to proceed, but then loses consciousness. Fudo spends 3 days in the hospital due to appendicitis. He receives a flower basket by Gecko, with Bossler wishing him fast recovery as he only wants Fudo to die by their hands. Misaki had peeled an apple and asks Fudo if he wants. Fudo agrees, but while she tries to give him a piece, Fudo realizes that she will be feeding him and wanting Desumi to be the first woman that feeds him. He closes his mouth and refuses to eat it. Haru figures it and jumps in and eats the apple. His mother then visits him and almost ends up feeding him an apple as well. Desumi then visits him, sharing that she heard he is getting released tomorrow and she wanted to see him in an unusual situation. She sees him planning to lift weights and warns him he will break his stitches, but Fudo explains he won't die until she feeds him. Desumi then takes the apples and feeds him, making the situation quite tense and romantic, but his mother then returns to tell Fudo that his father will pick him up tomorrow. Seeing Desumi, she assumes she is friends on his and explains they need more players for volleyball game and takes Desumi with her. At the game, Desumi helps them win. Afterwards, she agrees for them to call her again if they need more players. Fudo's mother then apologizes for earlier and reveals she knew Desumi was feeding Fudo. Desumi gets embarrassed, but she tells her to not be shy and that she did the same with her husband back in the day. Fudo's mother states that she used to be quite beautiful when she was younger and shows a picture of her with baby Fudo. Desumi finds Fudo cute, but the mother assumes she meant her. She tells Desumi to take care of Fudo and Desumi confirms she will. Gelato 5 is fighting Gecko. Meanwhile, Fudo and Desumi are enjoying time together. Since it's summer, Fudo asks Desumi if there is anything she would like to do as couple. Thinking about it, Desumi states it's going to the beach. Fudo's face turns red as he imagines Desumi in swimsuit. At lunch, Kiki sees Desumi having a fierce look and gets excited to see what poor soul got her gaze, but then sees that Desumi is trying to decide what dessert she wants. That disappoints Kiki, who tells Desumi that she has an image to maintain and that Desumi was the only one person with a ferocity she could respect. Kiki asks her why she joined Gecko and Desumi explains her parents applied for her. Since the exam is hard, Kiki wonders how she passed it, but Desumi explains she did her best and they put her in leadership role. Desumi wonders if the beach would be a good place for their next attack. However, the alarm rings and calls for the leaders and princesses to report to the conference room. The leaders gather at the conference room. Supreme Leader Bossler reveals he called them to announce that he plans on creating a new monster and establish a new squadron. He calls Reaper Princess and promotes her from Princess Series to Monster. Bossler explains that she will undergo enhancement surgery, be fused with an animal, and acquire greater power. The monster leader congratulates Desumi, who looking at Drone Rabbit thinks that if she ends up being a cute monster like her, it may not be so bad. Bossler reveals she will be fused with Mountain Gorilla and shows a concept diagram of how she will look, but that only shocks Desumi. In her room, Desumi starts to think what it will mean for her to become a monster and how her life will change. She receives a call from her father, who is a lifetime soldier at Gecko, who congratulates her on her promotion and states it's a dream come true for family member to become a monster. Her mother also congratulates her. Desumi tries to explain she isn't sure about it, but her mother interrupts her saying that by seeing how hard Desumi is working, her sister Urami started coming out of her shell. Urami reveals that she will join Gecko after she graduates and that Desumi is her idol. Desumi guesses that her family and friends would be sad if she declined the promotion, but wonders what Fudo would think. In that moment, Fudo calls her, wanting to hear her voice, but hearing her cry, he tells her to give him 1 hour. After an hour, Fudo arrives at her dorm and they go on the roof. There Desumi tells him they want to turn her into a gorilla monster. Fudo tells her it doesn't matter what he thinks, but what Desumi wants to do. After thinking a bit, Desumi shares that if she becomes a gorilla, there will be many things she won't be able to do anymore, and even meeting Fudo would be harder. After meeting him, she started to want to do many more new things. If she haven't met him, Desumi guesses she would have easily went with what the rest want and become a monster, but now she wants to keep what she has with Fudo. Next day, at the leaders' meeting, Desumi turns down the promotion. Everyone is shocked and Bossler seems angry at first, but is actually impressed, sharing that Desumi has a true martial artist heart and wants to fight with her own power, and if she accepts the power of an animal, it's essentially she admitting her own weakness. Fudo tells Desumi that this Saturday they will be testing King Gelato Robo at Shonen Beach. Desumi shares that info with Culver and Bear, and 3 teams go to the beach to investigate and demolish the robot. They all receive Gecko Aquatic Combat loadout swimsuits, but Kiki feels her is different than the others as it's a whole piece. However, Desumi and Kyoko assure her it's fine. Gelato arrives in a submarine, but Professor Big Gelato accidentally shoots out the missiles and almost obliterates the Gecko members. Misaki opens a beer and Haru tries to tell her they are not there for fun, but the professor explains they are just testing one part of the robot which forms its calf, which isn't even essential, so it's fine. Fudo goes to the beach. Kiki sees him and wonders what they will do. Desumi then rushes towards him, making Kiki think that she plans on executing the plan herself. Seeing her, Fudo freezes for a moment and they start enjoying their beach date. Kiki gathers courage and decides to prove herself, but then she sees Desumi had buried Fudo up to the head and mistakes it for Desumi torturing Fudo. Moments later she peeks again and sees Desumi holding a stick and preparing to smash Fudo's head, while in reality she was trying to smash a watermelon. Hayato appears and tries to flirt with Kiki, but she recognizes him as Blue Gelato and hits him. Kiki peeks again and sees Desumi eating food with Gelato members and believes she managed to infiltrate them. Hayato gets up and starts chasing Kiki. They stay on the beach until dark and the professor shoots some fireworks for them to enjoy. Misaki tells Desumi that she must thank her because thanks to her Fudo had become a better person and shares more sides of him. The professor prepares to launch the last set of fireworks, but one of the hatches malfunctions. Desumi sees Kiki, who finally managed to escape Hayato. Kiki thinks that was impossible to destroy the robot even for Desumi, but the fireworks go off and blow up the submarine, making Kiki think that Desumi managed to do it. As Gelato heads home, Daigo looks at a picture they took with Desumi and seemingly recognizes her. Watch this next video.